You know, for me, I just want to say that what is happening in our country today is not because anybody's right is being infringed upon. That point has to be made very forcefully because it is a principle of our criminal justice system that everybody is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty, that all suspects have the right to be treated with dignity during their arrest and even after their arrest, and that everybody is entitled to bail, and especially when the arrest is effected without a warrant, it means that the arresting authorities have an obligation to present you before court within 48 hours for the court to either grant you bail or remand you. And I want to also say that in the matter of Wontumi, as we are discussing, none of these principles have been breached. He has been presumed innocent and he will have his day in court. His right to dignity has not been violated. I've heard in certain quarters where people say that he's on hunger strike. I can tell you on authority that the only reason Chairman Wontumi is not eating is that he says he does not trust his own party people to bring him food. Oh. And that the last time they brought him food, he and John Kuma were poisoned and he survived it. I'm telling you that on authority.
That's what he...
Yes, so he does not want to take food from his party people. So his right to dignity is being protected. In fact, he has also not been denied bail. He has been granted bail, and the record must also reflect that he was granted bail the very night or the very day that he was arrested. So it is not as if Iyoko wants to keep him there. And this is the very sad part. And I don't think that the NPP is an organization that anybody should sacrifice their intellect, their resources, their time, or anything to support. Because see, I am so scandalized at what is happening to Chairman Wontumi. Chairman Wontumi is the chairman of the NPP's World Bank until he became a microfinance in the 2024 election. Chairman Wontumi goes on air and says things that nobody can say in the interest of the party. Chairman Wontumi is one man who has insulted almost everybody in this country because of his love for the NPP. And you know what is happening to Chairman Wontumi? The only reason why Chairman Wontumi is not out of custody today, Monday, as we speak, is because various factions in NPP are using Chairman Wontumi to either test their popularity in the upcoming flag bearership race in the NPP or to see whether or not they are influential. And I'll demonstrate to you. You will say that, oh, but Beatrice, are you sure? I am very sure.
In fact, I'm thinking that's your deduction.
It's not my deduction. I'll demonstrate to you. Annie, when Chairman Wontumi was arrested, immediately he was granted bail, 2 sureties, in the sum of 50 million cedis. And even before I come to the flag bearers or potential flag bearers using him to play Chaskele, I want to demonstrate to you that when you want to grant a person bail for an offense you are investigating, and you don't grant bail less the sum that you are investigating, or less the value. Because, for example, if I am accused of doing something in the sum of 50 million, the moment she grants me bail of, let's say, 40 million, I can actually run away and make 10 million cedis off it by just running away. So every time, bail conditions are set to either be at par with the subject of the investigation or even higher, so that the suspect does not have any motivation to run away. And so the bail terms as was set by Yoko were not harsh and onerous. In fact, if you listen to Apia Kubi, who is the rightful lawyer, because these days they have more than 3 or 4 people saying that they are representing Wontumi, but we'll come there. If you listen to Apia Kubi, he himself agrees that Iyoko has been very professional, Iyoko has been very cooperative, and in fact, as at even Friday, people at Iyoko, including the boss, stayed on for hours till 8 p.m. waiting for them to come and meet the bail condition so that their most venerable and once revered governor of Ashanti region can go home. But
So,
then again,
so they were ready to grant the bail.
no, they had granted the bail. Come and meet the bail condition. As for them, they've granted the bail. And nobody, no lawyer can argue that the terms of the bail was onerous. Because we've seen bails being granted in the sum of 120 million, in the sum of 80 million. Even sometimes when you go to court, it's to be justified. You know, so that point has to be made. But this is why I say that people who want to be flag bearers or are in the camp of flag bearers are using Wontumi's liberty to test their popularity. First, let me show you. When Iyoko granted the bail, the first move by the micro-minority leader, Afenyo Markin, was to lead the honorable members to the premises of Iyoko and to sit on the floor. For me, I was most scandalized by this action by Afenyo Markin and his fellow members of parliament.
Is it the sitting on the floor or the abandoning of parliament that you were scandalized by?
Afenyo Markin is my senior at the bar. At least he knows that sitting on the floor is not one of the grounds for the grant of a bail condition. So when you check section 96, 97 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act, Act 30, nowhere does it say that when a person is arrested by sitting on the floor, you can get the person, released. And you know, for me, the most embarrassing thing about this is that, is this not the same Afenyo Markin who can actually file an ex parte application in the Supreme Court and in 2 hours get a ruling and an order drawn up and served on the Speaker of Parliament? All of a sudden, he does no longer have the power to go to court, this time even ex parte, to ask for bail for Wontumi. He can no longer secure a ruling of the court in 2 hours to get the venerable governor of Ashanti region, the man who flaunts gold, the man who is worth over $4 billion, and at a time wants to even buy Chelsea. Is that the value they place on the governor of Ashanti? Why do you belittle a big man like that? So Afenyo Markin all of a sudden knew that now you don't necessarily have to go to court. I'm very curious to know, and maybe you should interview him for us. Why on this note, he chose not to go to court ex parte? He could have gone to the Supreme Court.
That's his choice.
Because even where the rules of procedure does not allow, he still gets ruling in the Supreme Court. So it was my valid expectation that he will file an ex parte in court, challenging the human rights and the legality of it. All of a sudden, those powers are no longer there. Then you have Tim Baumia. Afenyomakin belongs to Camp Kennedy Japan.
Oh, okay.
I've heard even he wants to contest himself. I'm sure he will do his own analysis. Then you have Camp Baumia, who also, without recourse to the rules of practice, asked Gary Nimako to go to court to go and file an application to review the bail condition when Gary Nimako is not the lawyer on record, or at least the lawyer as known to Iyoko and the investigating authorities. And while they were negotiating, this surprise was sprung on both the lawyer and the investigating authority. Why? Because Dr. Baumia wanted the chairman of their stronghold to know that even while you are in here, I'm fighting for you. So without tact, without strategy, without recourse to legal ramification, with no finesse, howsoever described, let's just file a process. It doesn't matter whether the lawyer has been consulted or not. And let me say that the first time Dr. Baumia went to Iyoko, he was not refused access to see Chairman Wontumi. In fact, they were told exactly what to do so that it does not cause chaos. And they went to do exactly the opposite of what they have agreed on. Yesterday, when they agreed to do the right thing, he was made to see Chairman Wontumi. Then you have their new flag bearer, Team Brian Echampon, Team Labadi Beach, or it's Lapam, saying that as for me, I am the owner of Rock City. I have 50 million. So I would also arrange for surety. The base should know that when Chairman Wontumi was arrested and is in prison, I am the one who was able, I'm sure the campaign time you will see. Yepe mema bano. Na yentimi nyobi ya na yede surety ne bae. I can imagine in the coming days how the flag bearership contest will be. Because now it's a competition of who can get the surety. And you see, in all these, back to the serious point, by their acts and inaction, they are even misleading the arresting authority. And so they are not even able to arraign Wontumi before court. Because they go like, oh, we are coming at 3 p.m.
Okay, that's
what
I wanted.
We are coming at 4 p.m. At 5 p.m., this surety will come. By the time it's 5 p.m., nobody. Even on Friday.
So this assurance is being given to the arresting authority. Is it coming from different camps, according to you?
Yes, so it depends on who wants to pull what string. Wow. But there is one assurance I can give to the people of Ghana, that the NDC and President Mahama are committed to making sure that anybody who has wasted the resources of this country is held accountable. But that accountability will be done in tandem with the tenets of the rule of law, having regard to the principles of our criminal justice system. The fear and the anxiety of the NPP is that if the NDC decides to do even half of what they did to the members of the NDC, half of them will not survive.
Okay.
Because, Annie, the things against Wontumi, they are so scary that if you look at Apia Kubi's demeanor, you can see that he's a wise lawyer. Because people are not privy to what the investigative authorities are privy to. This investigation is not only being carried out by Iyoko. The FBI is also involved. It is even murkier than you think. And so Apia Kubi, being a wise lawyer, has taken a certain reconciliatory posture. He knows what Iyoko knows. He knows what facts the man has been confronted with. And so, and I want to commend him, because we always say, so for instance, when you have a case that affects the liberty of your client, as a lawyer, your posturing ought to be different. If you go to court in a contempt case and you are fighting the judge, know that the judge will take out that anger on your client and your client will be sentenced. So he has, demonstrated a lot of maturity. But ultimately, this shows that the NPP is very disorganized. They are not concerned about the welfare of their members and even their party leadership. But if this can happen to Wontumi, then who else is protected? Who will be protected? Because the purpose of the visit and the purpose of wanting to see him is not because we want to see him and solidarize. It is because the party base, it is a campaign message. It is a shame. It is a shame that you have a man, and for me, everybody knows that I like Wontumi. People say he has his own excesses and all that, but for some reason, I'm amused by some of the things. You see his prayer you were playing, those Latin, I'm just amused by it. So I don't have any...
But he has some wild excesses that should not be entertained.
Every human being has excesses. What we are talking about here is not... You see, he will have his day in court. He will have his day before the FBI. He will have his day to answer the question. He will have his lawyers represent him. But what we are talking about is a party that is in disarray. That cannot come together. There is no tact, there is no strategy, there is no finesse. And they just want to turn the story around and make it look like somebody is infringing on the rights of somebody. Nobody is interested. And let me conclude by saying that if an investigative authority wants to frustrate you, and they can frustrate you, if the charges against you are 15, you know what they can do? They can arrest you on one,
2 or 3.
Even 1, 2 or 3, it is classed. 1, grant you bail. You leave the premises, you get to your house, they arrest you on the second one. You leave your premises, so for almost every week you'll be arrested. And for each, they can set different bail conditions. By the time you realize, you will not get sureties again. So nobody is interested in doing anybody or in trying to make sure that somebody's rights are curtailed. And if we want big fishes, Wontumi is not one of them.
But you can't say that, because you've also indicated that one of his issues has to do with international organized crime.
Yes. The FBI.
I'm
saying that this arrest is not political. It is because of an offense. And you know the funny thing, you start investigating one offense.
Yeah.
By the time you are getting somewhere, you discover a new offense. So this has got nothing to do with political cases or any political witch hunters. Even though if they are witches, we may hunt them. But that's not it.
So guess what? There's a member of your party that's very surprised and shocked at that information. In fact, he wants to know, is that so? He wants more information. And this person is the person of Kakre Samoa. Mm-hmm. So opinion Kakre Samoa. He says, I clearly heard Annie, solid Beatrice Annan, saying that Chairman Wontumi is refusing food from the NPP people whilst in custody because, according to him, the last time he ate NPP food with John Kuma was poisoned. He survived. Is that so?
Yes,
Annie.
It is so. That is the information
Morning.
I have. So he eats just a certain category of food that he has the opportunity. Is like you prepare it from scratch, so he knows it.
Okay.
So it is not about Yoko. It is not about the NDC. It is about the NPP's own internal disintegration. Okay.